Hello, folks. It's Graham Cofe with another My Music. I hope you're all sitting comfortably wherever you are. If you're driving, please keep your eyes on the road and stop before you do anything else with your phone or anything like that. We will be talking to Tim Easton in a minute about his new song and about his life in music. Before that, I'm going to play a video. It's striking. And has flashing lights at times. So if you are prone to any of those conditions which that affects, please look the other way. If not, watch it deeply and then spend some money with independent musicians. Oh, and there we go. That stopped very quickly, didn't it? Sorry about that. That's what happens when you try and get a guitar on your lap at the same time as doing all of the other stuff. Tim, nice to see you.
Hey man, now, good morning.
I'm going to blame the fact that we're late today on the fact that we were just noodling with guitars in the background before we came on, and actually we couldn't be bothered to do the interview. We just wanted to carry on noodling. But that's not the truth. It was all to do with Chrome and
we're making some pasta. We're making some pasta. We're making pasta in Safari, and we needed to take it over to the Chrome.
But we were having a little noodle a minute ago, and apparently, what key was this in?
F sharp minor.
It's in F sharp minor, apparently.
Yeah.
There you go. If you enjoyed. If you enjoyed that song, you can't buy it. But you could learn to play it on the guitar, which is what this guy here has learned to do. Tell us, when did you first pick up a guitar? When did that first happen?
I started really early. I'd say 9 or 10 years old. My older brothers played, and they would pass through town, on Christmas or something. There's a lot of traveling. I come from a really big family. I'm the youngest of 7. So,
wow.
Older brothers would come through. They had cool guitars. They played songs. They played American songs, some Beatles and Stones too. But, they played and I wanted to play. And they taught me. They teach me about a lick or two every year until I got my own guitar. Do
you remember the first song that you actually learned to play all the way through?
Oh yeah, I do. It was a solemn by Peter, Paul, and Mary, which is like a folk.
Really?
Yeah, folk thing. So that, my brother taught me this basic.
Ba, 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 ba.
That took about a year.
Just that little, yeah.
Yeah, just like how to hammer and pull off, and just different blues licks. They were blues guys. They had country blues in them. They taught me about Doc Watson and stuff like that, and it was a slow build. But they're the ones that also clued me into the fact that if I wrote poetry, which of course you're getting grief from countless friends, if you wrote poetry and played guitar, that perhaps you could be a songwriter.
Well, there's not a lot wrong with that at all, is there? It's just what was the poetry like to begin with?
I mean, it was poor, but I think I rhymed Briggs and Stratton. I know I write because I was just writing about it yesterday. So I got good marks in some haiku I wrote like at the age of 9 or 10, and that's when my brother told me, "Hey, if you write poetry and play guitar, you can write songs." And I started writing that day. I wrote a song. It was kind of basically John Lennon's Imagine, but from the point of view of a kid, writing about angsty stuff about his parents. It was called Realize.
So it was straight away. It was quite straight into sort of like pop type chords, really.
Absolutely. I had the Beatles songbook, and I just looked at these songs, and I looked at the chords they were using. And I would just say, a B minor goes with a G. Like I would just learn, these chords go good together. So then I would just rearrange them. I think my first song I wrote that I played in public I took the chords to drive my car and rearranged them and wrote my own lyrics to it. It was just very, it was an intuitive thing. And to this day, I have the Beatles XM Sirius station in my car. So when my daughter gets in the car, I don't even have to tell her to listen. It's just on, right? So I'm going through. I guess I entered a Beatles phase when I was about 12, and I'm still in it apparently.
Ah, that's cool.
Sometimes when vinyl was you like went through a Beatles phase. If you're a songwriter or a musician, you go through a Beatles phase every couple of years or every 10 years or something. But I've entered it and never left it.
Was there a phase then after like the the straightforward chords, etc., where it then started, you started to go backwards, where you started to go like you started going, sort of like 12 bar and blues and
yeah, the blues you quickly learn. The blues are whatever you make of it.
Yes, right.
The blues don't have to be 12 bars. I learned that, I was really lucky. I saw John Lee Hooker as a young man. I saw BB King. Yeah, I saw BB King. I saw those guys. It was just about the feel. Sometimes it was just one chord.
It's fantastic. Yeah.
They would just do that for like 5 minutes. It never even went to the four chords.
That's the thing that I always loved about John Lee Hooker. It was all about what his foot was doing.
I watched him from 5 feet away. His foot was hitting the mic stand, and I do that to this day. And he was staring at a tall blonde that was next to me. She was really like this rock and roll girl, and he stared at her and sang the whole set right to her. And I was like, oh, I see what's going on here.
Yeah, that's the way to do it. That's the way.
He's a blues man. It was John Lee Hooker. I can't believe I got to see John Lee Hooker. I can't believe I got to see the band. One of the crazier shows of my life, though, and I will say this, if we're going to talk about seeing incredible things as a young person and not even barely knowing what you're doing. Like when you read the Elvis Costello book, he talks about seeing Sonny Terry and Brownie McGee at a folk thing in like some small town. I don't know if it was Liverpool or where it was, but he sees these guys, and it kind of has as an impact on him. I was a busker, I was a busker in London for a while. I was busking around Dublin, all of Ireland, and then all of, Spain, France, Holland. And then I ended up in Prague right after the Berlin Wall came down, which is a pretty cool place to be at the time.
Sure.
And the Velvet Underground came to town. The original lineup of the Velvet Underground came to Prague in 1991, I want to say. It's on YouTube. Anyways, I saw the original lineup for that band with like Václav Havel in the audience. And it's one of those things where you're like, okay, I'm at something special. I know it's special, but how many people got to see the Velvet Underground, period, even when they were at their peak. Yeah, they only played like no one in America liked them. That's why they came back when they reunited. They toured Europe a little bit, and they never even played America again.
Wow.
North America.
Wow. And you were saying last night that you were quite an experience. Was it last night? You were quite an experience.
It was 2 nights in a row because it's the Country Music Awards Association fanfare. Like all the town is crazy right now. 2 nights ago, I got 2 dear friends that are in a band with a famous country star. They played the Grand Ole Opry. I went to that, and the Oak Ridge Boys were playing Elvira. It was one of those nights of like, whoa, country music. It's like having a little bit of culture shock inside your own country. It was really powerful. It was really big. It was amazing. And then last night I went to see Marty Stewart. He does a little thing called the Late Night Jam on the Wednesday night of CMA weekend. And yeah, Joe Walsh showed up, John Oates of Hall & Oates, Sierra Farrell was there. Del McCurry played 2 songs with his family band, the Del McCurry band. And one of them was Nashville Cats. The other one was the Richard Thompson song, Vincent, Red-Haired Molly. What's that song? Vincent 1950, whatever. What's that song called? Oh my God.
Yeah. I know the one you mean.
Yeah, the famous tune by Richard Thompson. And I saw Del McCurry do that. And I've seen him do it before, really luckily a couple of times I've seen that guy. But last night at the Ryman in their they were just in their element, and it just sounded so beautiful. And you realize, yeah, you're in the presence of American music greatness, like bluegrass greatness. And of course, you know, Marty Stewart and the Fabulous Superlatives, they are one of the greatest bands you would ever go see. They cover all the history of American music, and then even do some freaky like Byrds era, 60s era, Sweetheart of the Rodeo style country, and also kind of Beatley, Byrdsy 12-string guitar stuff with Kenny Vaughan playing. It was beautiful.
Wow.
Yeah, that's another night in Nashville. So yeah, sometimes
another night in Nashville.
I mean, I really sometimes it's mind blowing. And then I went across the alley to Roberts, and Sierra Farrell came in there and sang a few songs with the band in there after getting off stage at the Ryman, where, by the way, she did get a standing ovation. And when you get a standing ovation at the Ryman, you're pretty much, that's your career has been set.
That's it.
Yeah, you're good to go. I mean, no, it's hard work. It's not like it's still not hard work, but when you get a standing ovation at the Ryman and then get inducted into the Grand Ole Opry at the same time, you know, it's like it's a huge thing that for a guy like me who's more of a folk musician, really. You know, for all of you out there, songwriters and music lovers, I've got tons of songs that, you know, if you go to punch in Tim Easton on YouTube or anywhere, I've got so many tunes. I got a couple, you know, over 100 songs on Spotify, and you'll see there's some rock and roll and there's some influence from the British invasion for sure. But my roots really are in the songs and the music I learned from my brothers way back when, like American country blues, you know, Sonny Terry, Brandon McGee, Lightning Hopkins, stuff like that is what I'll do when you see me live. I'll play a lot more of that style, although storytelling is a big part of it now.
I was going to say it's songs that tell stories.
Yeah.
And that is folk, isn't it? In a way, anything that's.
Yeah, you have to be able to. If I'm by myself, I can't afford to carry a band out on the road with me, so I have to fill in the tuning and such with stories. Otherwise, it'd be boring.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned a couple of things there, which I'd like to get your take on, seeing as you're here. Which is that you may be aware that country music over here is becoming massive again at the moment.
Oh yeah. No, I love that there's a whole Americana UK sites. It's so funny. It's like we fought a Revolutionary War, and then you guys basically showed us how cool our music was. That's what the 60s was. That the British invasion was like, oh, we are oppressing the black people that made the music. You know, that we caught the slavery and all that stuff caused the blues and the oppression over here. And then like the Beatles just basically took Chuck Berry and just showed, you know, Elvis was of course part of it too, but the Beatles and the Stones basically just showed America how ass shakingly cool our music was. And all of a sudden, boom, you revolutionized us with music. And then it goes back and forth, you know, then. It's like country music is always it appeals to everybody around the world because, you know, I toured all across Russia before the pandemic, before the war. And it's just like the stories and the truth, the three chords and the truth about it, it affects everybody. Almost everybody can identify with some aspect of a Hank Williams song. You know, he's the hillbilly Shakespeare is what they call him, right? That's the great way to put it. It's like although probably a little easier to understand than Shakespeare for most people, but you know, it's just like perfect haiku stories of love lost, trouble, and joy, and all wrapped up in a couple of verses and a chorus. It's like it's the best and simplest way to convey music is that simple Hank Williams style.
It's another similarity, I guess, between country and folk, which is the pursuit of telling the story, but also sort of retelling history. You know, and sort of also in a way, the pursuit of the underdog as well. We recently on here had Angelina Morrison, who's I don't know whether you're familiar with her work, but she created a very important folk album last year, which was really a celebration of Black folk music in the UK, which has just never really been done before.
No.
Produced by someone else that's been on, Eliza Carthy, from a very famous.
Oh, I know Eliza Carthy and Martin Carthy. Yeah, I saw Martin Carthy at Glastonbury in the '80s. I was really lucky to be a street musician over there before house music and dub. Before the ecstasy rage hit. Very lucky to have been there, and just gone to Glastonbury and seen Van Morrison and the Waterboys. It was great.
I love that. I love the the kind of genealogy of those bands, and the fact that these people they're either real family members and they keep that lineage over time, or they you picked up music from your brothers, etc., or they or there's I mean, you mentioned Richard Thompson, and by the way, folks, if you haven't read Richard Thompson's autobiography, that's brilliant. It's really...
listen to Richard and Linda Thompson's "I Want to See the Bright Lights Tonight." Last year at Folk Alliance, the last 2 years, the UK representation. I'm spacing out on some of the names of some of the women that just came in. Like the post Beth Orton British, like actual folk, like what we call folk. We change it up, but when you have British folk music, there definitely is a certain style. It often involves the dad-gad tuning.
Yeah.
It's a thing. It's a force. We kind of blur the lines over here, and people that love like the band and stuff like that, or we take old songs and kind of make we don't. It's not always necessarily true folk music. Like in England, it is like you choose that direction, or you choose the pop, or you choose the ska, or like beats and stuff like that, and hip hop.
There are people that cut across that. I mean, people like the Unthanked who have created fantastic sort of almost proggy bits of music at times, but then as well, they've literally sort of raided the archives and done really traditional pieces, or they've gone back and they've they did a whole album where they explored the songs of Robert Wyatt. There's
cool, it's a post. It's basically, I tell people, if you study that music, you'll be standing on the shoulders of giants. If you study old music, or the heroes of your heroes, if you dig, use the Beatles example. It's like it's strange. It's not it's like picking Beethoven or Mozart when you're talking about classical music. The Descendants. If you study the heroes of those guys, if you're like, oh, so you like the Everly Brothers, then you'll learn about the Everly Brothers, or Chuck Berry, or Little Richard, and then you watch that Little Richard documentary and you look where he took his things from, and you keep going back until you end up basically in a cave, with a guy like eating on a cave wall, while someone's drawing a picture, while someone's like banging some bones against a drum, or the drum, the first instrument. But you got to study the heroes of your heroes. And if you do that, you can make music forever. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to make a living doing it forever, but you'll kind of enjoy making music forever if you have all that history inside you. I'm not like, that's how to say this, massively, household name and all that. But I'm able to make a living as a musician because I'm able to use this, what I've learned to play shows, and I'm able to work. I'm able to continue working, and I feel really fortunate. And I can only say it's because my brothers and sisters had cool vinyl records that I learned about good music from, and they're the ones that told me to keep studying the old stuff. When I was in high school, Prince and Cyndi Lauper and Men at Work, that was on the radio, right? Men at Work and stuff. And I've since, played gigs with Colin from that band. And, that was what on the radio, but my brothers told me about Doc Watson. And from Doc Watson, I learned about Mississippi John Hurt,
So
it had The studying the heroes of your heroes is all I could say for anyone listening to this that wants to make art of any kind, really painting, cooking, poetry, etc. Is keep going back and
Keep going back. Keep going back as far as you can go. Whilst you were talking about that, you kind of reminded me of that scene from the documentary It May Get Loud, where
Jack White.
Jack White, and there's that scene where Jack White literally gets a block of wood nail,
I love that. Yeah.
and just creates with one string, creates a guitar, and he goes, "That's a guitar." You know?
My favorite thing about that movie is how when the Edge shows them that he doesn't play his E, they play this big meathead E chord,
Yeah.
you know, the clunky ass rock and roll E chord, and then he shows that his E chord is this one. Yeah, he's got this one. That's his E chord. It's more of that.
Yeah. So it's got that bottom end. It's got that top end to it, which makes it ring out more. Yeah,
I've seen folk musicians play their E chord that way, but I thought that was a cool, representation of a modern change up in guitar styles. And there's from a band that like it never really grabbed me. Of course, I admire them in their incredible long career. But like you too, I went more as an American, I went more in the direction of REM at that time. Like that was more my camp,
Yeah.
When I was in university studying poetry, otherwise known as drinking a lot of beer and, hanging out, going to see bands, going to see the Pixies, going to see interesting new bands that were coming up.
Listen, I'm not going to argue with that. Green is still one of my favorite albums. That's, it's just before it got too commercial, and but that was great. That was a great pop album.
I was a street musician at that time, and I was working in Tottenham Court Road at a pub right across from Denmark Street, where all the guitars are sold in London, or were. And so there's a pub right there, and it was next to a famous rootsy Americana club called the Borderline, I think.
Mm-hmm.
It was a pretty big club at the time. The Green Tour was happening. REM was in London, and I was working at the pub next door. I was a busker and I was working at a pub, and REM came in, and they had a little secret show at the Borderline with two of the guys from Squeeze and Robin Hitchcock and Billy Bragg. And so Billy Bragg and Robin Hitchcock and Peter
was that
Buck,
like Chris Difford or from Squeeze?
I forget. Well, they formed like a little band that night that was called either Robin and the Crosses or Bingo Hand Job. Depends on what your historical thing. But they played that night, and I remember they played "You Ain't Going Nowhere" by Bob Dylan.
Yeah,
and I also remember being very drunk. But anyways, and talking to Michael Stipe. But yeah, I didn't see the REM show, but I went and saw the secret special show that was at the bar next to the
You almost saw something better, I think.
Well, I mean, it was pretty cool that I got to go to that. And another thing that I remember, Peter Buck, it's one of those weird things you remember. And I've gotten to know him a little bit through the years. He was wearing soccer cleats, like football cleats. That's what he wore for shoes. Yeah, he wore cleats on his. I don't know if they were the metal. No, they were the plastic cleat. But those are the shoes he wore around, which is, I thought that might be a little slippery on the marble floors. But anyways, just a little tidbit from my busking past when I was, I was playing. I used to run the Green Line from like out to Heathrow and back. And one time when I got busted, right around that time, I got caught by the police. They asked me my name. I told them that my name was Peter Buck. I remember using his name to give to the coppers. So yeah, it's just one of those little busking bits when I was, getting chased around by the police in the underground.
What's brought you around to writing this piece of music that you're releasing now?
It was really clearly a friend that was dying. And that's all it was. I was on tour in Holland, and he just kind of refused to do anything about it. It was very sad, and he fell down, and he was on life support. And I was on a train in Holland. I was going from Amsterdam out to do a media thing, and I just wrote those words down. And then when I checked in my hotel, I pulled out the guitar and I wrote it so fast.
Was it a feeling that there's nothing else I can actually physically do here.
Yeah,
I've got to do what I can do, which is write a song about it.
I'm just telling him to hang on to the sliver of light, hang on to the light, please, please. And it was very difficult, but I knew I had to, I wrote it. It's something that songwriters do in cathartic moments of like,
was it almost a prayer?
Yeah, it's like a prayer, it's like a release. And the baseball comes into it because he was a baseball fan. He loved baseball. So there's a lot of metaphors in sports, in American baseball. We could go on, I'm not like a huge baseball guy, but I do. There's something about going out on the pitch, and I've gone to a couple of football matches overseas as well in Spain. There's something about going into that space I was going to say relaxing. It's not necessarily relaxing when I've done it in England, but there's something relaxing about a baseball. Yeah, it's a little bit more wild over there. But like baseball itself, when you go out onto that green, it lowers the blood pressure and it's really relaxing. And I enjoy that. And I tried to bring that somewhat into the second verse of it. But, all I know is that I wrote the song and I recorded it right away. And then we put it out in between two albums. I just finished making a whole new album. I went to Canada and made a folk album, basically. So that'll come out next year. But
cool.
Yeah, I write songs, man. I write a lot, and sometimes we find something to do with it. And I appreciate you, wanting to rap about all this stuff.
It's a great song. It's got a great energy to it, and it's got a great, in a way, it's quite poppy as well.
Yeah, that's the band. Cheers. That's the band. The band, that's live. That's take one. Okay. That's the other thing about Nashville musicians. That's take one. I'm singing live with the band. We did 3 takes and then we listened back and I go, oh, take one's the one. And then I think there was he doubled the solo just to make it pop out more. But that's what he played. That's what we all played on the first take. So, I demoed it. I had my arrangement down, right? And I did an iPhone demo and I sent it to the band. And this is classic Nashville. Those 3 guys are the band for, I'm going to get in trouble. She's like, oh my gosh. She's a famous country music singer, like kicking ass right now. And I can't remember her name. Oh my God. Wait, I got it. Hold on. Stay right there.
Right, yeah. Look, we couldn't possibly not do this.
This is crazy. Oh my God, I can't find it.
Look, this is what happens when we get to our age, Tim. We just can't remember things.
Oh my gosh, you think I'm feeling really disrespectful?
It's not.
I just saw her play, and I have it written down here somewhere because I have the. Oh my gosh, I don't know where it is. Okay, well, yeah. Welcome to my world.
Well, Tim, what we'll do is we'll make sure we tag them in to the. You let me know afterwards, and I'll make sure I tag them in.
I just feel like an idiot. Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna look it up. I just feel so spacey. Man, she has a song called "Watermelon Moonshine." Oh, I googled watermelon moonshine, and the recipe came up.
Oh my word.
Oh my God. Lainey Wilson is her name. Lainey Wilson is fantastic. And my friends are in her band. And, that's my daughter calling. I'm just decline that.
You should have said that was Lainey calling to say.
she's having a busy week playing with Lucas Nelson and a lot of people. So Lainey Wilson is just a great songwriter and country artist who's new. But, she's been in this town for 10, 11 years kicking ass. And now she's nailing it. She's flying the private jets and doing very well. And,
well, we need to get Lainey on to say, I can't remember his name. Tim Easton, I think.
I mean, I was just backstage courtesy of her the other day. And it was like, I mean, it was crazy. Like Randy Travis was there. He's in a wheelchair. It was just an amazing Nashville moment of country music is very, as a genre, is very accepting and very friendly and very open. the gatekeepers, there are gatekeepers and all that in that world, but there's not a big wall between the people that make the music and the fans that love it. Like you're welcome together. I'll never forget opening up for Willie Nelson, one of my first big gigs, and he signed autographs. 2 hours into the night, there was a line out the bus. There was a snowstorm in Cleveland, and he signed autographs until the last person was done with that line. I mean, that's what's going on in that world. That's the difference between that world and, say, I don't know, hip hop or pop music. It's not like Taylor Swift wouldn't do that because she started in country music, but it's like, let's face it, the line to get an autograph from Taylor Swift would be a couple of days long. Probably.
Yeah, quite ginormous. I mean, I think what's great is, and we try and span the spectrum on this program, is that in the last few weeks we've had some young American artists that have been on here who are literally just at the start of their career, who are coming through that kind of country line, and they have amazing voices. But they're, as you say, they're looking back and they're going, yeah, my influences were, and these are the records I love. And it's not, they're appreciative of modern day peers like like the young lady that we just spoke about, because she's doing. Sorry, no, I was mentioning the other one that you would have to queue around the block for. Right, because people like that have done a lot in terms of instructing them in terms of how to do the business.
Mm-hmm.
But actually, and that's not necessarily where their musical origin is trying to come from. They've done their history, and they've gone back, and they're saying, oh yeah, actually, I go right the way back here, and this is where this comes from, which is great. It's great that young people are still playing vinyl. It's great that young people are still, bothered to learn about the history and take that all on. But you need to, if you're going to develop that, I have to say, some of those skills that come from,
or have any real longevity in your career. I mean, I hate to say it, but like those that just, when I ask a drummer who their favorite drummer is and they tell me Dave Grohl, that's fine and all, but you probably ought to, keep going back and find out who his favorite drummers are and start studying them. That's all I'm saying. I can't say that I'm at the beginning of my career. This is not toothpaste that I left in my beard here.
Yeah.
I'm comfortably middle-aged over here in Nashville, Tennessee. But luckily, I studied folk music. I've been playing this kind of music since I was a street musician, since I was a busker. And I played Sonny Terry, Brandon McGee. I did play some Bob Dylan and some John Prine. And I did play some REM. I played, and I did play some contemporary stuff. I played some Ween songs, I remember. But mostly when I was on the streets playing, these songs were old. And there's always, I barely was even doing Beatles and Stones stuff. I was doing the stuff that inspired them and influenced them.
Yeah.
But as it always was, it is in the music business. The guy that was down the Charles Bridge in Prague singing Beatles songs only exclusively, right? His crowd was 5 times as big as mine. I did fine with my 20 bohemians and, pre-hipster bohemians drinking champagne and smoking rollies on the Charles Bridge. I did fine with that audience, and it was beautiful, and had, it's almost, it's super romantic era, right? But the guy that was singing Beatles tunes, it was like you could barely pass. It was so crowded where he was, So the music, and when I bust the steps of Montmartre, right, in Paris, the guys, the Middle Eastern guys that were singing the Hotel California, is the Mrs. Robinson, those guys were cleaning up, right? The those guys were nailing it. The Lebanese band, I remember these guys were Lebanese guys, and their harmonies were beautiful, and they would sing Hotel California, and they would crush it. Today's probably still probably one of the songs, but I would get that request all the time in Paris, the Hotel California, all the time, and I was like, no.
Yeah.
As much as
I haven't got the accent for it, is what you say. Yeah. Welcome to the Hotel California.
Yes.
No. I think the thing is that it's very easy to burn out as well, though, if all of your musical just comes from pop or just comes from
you got to go back. That's how long your career will last. It'll be a flash in the pan type thing. If you're just studying what's around, what do I know? Here I am, basically a struggling, hustling folk singer. I mean, let's be realistic here. I'm lucky that I get to go do this, but it's like constant hustle. It's a constant bit of work. I don't have a manager. I have a booking agent, and I create my own world by putting it out there. Like that song, I could have just written that song and moved on with my life, but I was like, okay, I'm going to write the song. I'm going to record it. I'm going to grab some guys that I know that'll kick ass with it. I'll make a video and I'll do something. So you have to be ambitious and actually not just think about it and sit around and dream about it. You've got to get on it and go do it. No one's handing it to you. I'm really lucky to have Black Mesa Records in Oklahoma help me put out my records. I'd like to call it a mom and pop shop, records label, but it's really a pop. It's one guy, Chris Payne.
Look, do you know those independent record labels are so important? I mean, that's why we're working with Analog Trash on this show, because similar, it's a family feel type record label. It literally is that, they all the artists on that label feel like they're part of a family. And
you've got to start somewhere. You want to think big. I think it's better to think small at first. Like, let's put on a nice little thing for our community. What can we do here in wherever you are, just to like boost up this neighborhood, boost up this area, and then take it from there. And Black Mesa Records is based in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And there's a bunch of great songwriters on there. A woman named Beth Bombara is on there. John Calvin Abney. There's a lot of great songwriters on that. So if you're listeners out there want to check out a cool independent record label in Oklahoma, it's called Black Mesa Records.
People will. I promise you that the audience of this show will go and check it out. That's what's so good about this. We don't play. Well, we did actually today, but we typically don't play any music on this show. And that's what I love about it, because what we do is we actually talk about music. We talk about the people that make music. And through that, people go, I want to go and find out.
Yeah.
And then they do go and find out. And
come on over to Nashville.
There's an effort in there. And that's, that's important, because we live in a world now where you can scream at a dot in the corner of your room and something will come out of it. And too often people will just, tell it to play the next thing and they don't even know what's coming out. It becomes muzak. It's not music.
Yeah.
They're just hearing that thing in the background. I love the fact that we're developing an audience here of people that actually bother. So that's great.
Yeah,
let's all go and bother today, folks.
Yeah, the algorithm I can't dance to the algorithms all the time. I need some human interaction. I love radio still to this day, and I love DJs that get into the history of stuff and even get a little political here and there, like Little Steven of Bruce Springsteen's band. He's got a show that's digital thing, but it's just great when a DJ really talks about the history of music and shows what things were happening at the time of the creation of the track. And Nashville really is crushing it with local radio. We've got a couple of public stations here that are amazing, playing new music mixed in with, The Clash or something. Like it's we got some good radio here. We got a great roots radio station, WMOT. If your listeners are into roots music and the history of American music and then the contemporary roots, there's a station called WMOT here in Nashville that I'm sure you could just broadcast it anywhere in the world, which is the beauty of the internet, really. And then we got some cool stations here, and I don't need to put on some playlist from my phone when I get in the car. I actually have DJs in this town that want me to hear an hour of the new psych folk music or something that's different, or some bluegrass that's just, there's just so much rockabilly. We got all these different little programmers here that are doing cool things like right on the radio. So very, very fortunate. Without a doubt, if you're a young songwriter or musician out there, or just whatever, it doesn't matter how old you are, Nashville, Tennessee right now is it's kind of remarkable how easy and accessible it is to be close to extremely talented and passionate music people. The bar that's down the street from my house, Dee's Country Cocktail Lounge. I mean, it's just, man, Molly Tuttle was in there the other day. Sierra Farrell's been in there, Margot Price. They'll just join the band for a song or two. And, it's just really, and just in general, the unknowns that are playing there every night are remarkable. It's great.
Oh, I grew up with that. When I went to university.
Where?
I went to university in Sunderland, and we used to go to a folk club.
Oh, cool.
Virtually, once or twice a week. And you would literally get up, you join the band, you play something, someone would read a bit of poetry. We need more of that. Bring it.
Wow,
bring
yeah,
it
it's okay. That's that you're speaking my language there.
Bring it all back.
I love old folk clubs in the UK and Ireland. I've been to some amazing ones where for me now it's like the older and grayer and beardier the person, the more fascinated I am with like their knowledge of songs and what I can learn from them. It's pretty cool.
Absolutely. Listen, Tim, we could talk all day, but I'm going to have to go and cook tea in a minute for a load of young people. So let's just talk about the music so that everybody knows where to go and find it.
Yeah.
Sliver of Light, Tim Easton, is the single that we've been talking about. Do go and check it out. It's available, as all good music is, on all of the platforms. But please do, if you could really check it out on the main page of the record company where it comes from, and maybe then see all of the other fantastic artists that are on there at the same time. I think is that probably the best place to go for it, Tim?
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's pretty easy if you have a Google machine or a Pocket Oracle, or whatever robot you're living with, whether it's Siri or Alexa or whatever robot you guys live with over there in the UK. You tell the robot to play Sliver of Light by Tim Easton, and it'll pop up, or you can punch it into your browser in your computer. It's pretty easy these days. You don't have to be Columbo. If you can just punch in some letters into a browser on a computer, you can find it. So yeah, Sliver of Light, Tim Easton, Black Mesa Records. And thanks everybody for connecting me with you and just basically all you music lovers over there and anyone listening to this today. I appreciate you supporting the true independent artists of your life that are out there creating songs and might not have the big, massive machine behind them, but they have a family of music lovers behind them. So I appreciate it.
Well, and we appreciate you making that music and staying true to yourself. So thanks, Tim. Thanks for coming on today.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for speaking. Thanks for getting the guitar out as well and being a good sport about that. Folks, please do check out Tim Easton's music if you haven't heard it before. Delve into it, and as you delve into his music, you'll go back and find more people that he has been influenced by, and that's the way that the journey goes. If you've enjoyed this has been my music. If you haven't enjoyed this has been a parliamentary broadcast on behalf of some boring parliamentary party. If you would like to share this, just tag some friends in and share it around, not for me, but for all of the musicians that come on. Until next time, this has been Graham Cofe with another My Music. Bye for now.